Shalom Aleichem, everyone. It is Erev Shabbos, Parshas Vayikra. And Purim is coming up next week, so I'll dedicate today's Dvar Torah to Inyane Megillas Esther. So there's two very striking chazals that really beg the questions. The famous Gemara Masechet Shabbos Daf Peches. And the Gemara there says that when we received the Torah at Har Sinai, Hashem kafa aleim har kagigas. He took the mountain, suspended it over our heads, upside down, and he said, either you accept the Torah here, or sham tehek furaschem, or I will bury you under this mountain right now. So of course we accepted the Torah. And the Gemara says, Amarava moda rabalo oraisa. This is a question. This raises an issue, because now any time that a Jew is mechal Shabbos, doesn't eat kosher, doesn't keep certain halachas, he can always say, listen, I didn't want this religion. I didn't buy in over here, and it was compelled upon me. It was forced upon me, so therefore I am ones. How can you hold me responsible when I didn't actually want this in the first place? So the Gemara continues and says, yes, but later on in Jewish history, during the time of Achashverosh, Kimu v'kiblu haYehudim, the Jews were makabel the Torah, Kimu masha kiblu kfar, that which they accepted under duress at Har Sinai. Now, during the time of Purim, they accepted willfully. Strange Gemara. What exactly happened during the time of Achashverosh? What shifted? What is the Kabbalah Sator? In fact, the She'iltos to Rav Chai just points out that the reason we have a Sudas Purim is to celebrate our Kabbalah Sator, any milestones in Torah learning, a Siyum, etc. We celebrate with a Suda. That's what our Sudas Purim is all about. That's Chazal number one, a strange Chazal. Second Chazal, this is quoted by the Rambam at the end of Perek Beis in Hilchos Megillah, where the Rambam says that La'asid Lavo, during the time of Mashiach, all the Sifrei Nach are going to be batel. All we're going to have left is Chamisha Chumshei Torah and Megillas Esther. What is so special about Megillas Esther that it's going to survive where all of the other Sifrei Nach will not? Very strange. The Ravid on the spot says, no, it can't be. Sifrei Nach are not batel. We might not be reading them publicly like we do now. We might not have Haftoros from the Nevi'im. We might not have Megillos read every single holiday, but other than Megillas Esther, but they're not going to be batel. The Ram says they're going to be batel. What exactly is the idea over there? So when you study the story of Purim, and if I were to ask you, does this story remind us of any other story in Tanakh? Is there any kind of parallel to other stories in Tanakh? And I think the answer is very clear. There are striking parallels between the story of Yosef's sail in Mitzrayim and his rise to power and the Purim story. Both cases, of course, have a Jew rising to the level of Mishnah Lamelech. We have signet rings that are given over in both stories. We have kings that have sleepless nights that can't sleep, and something transpires as a result of those sleepless nights. We have hidden identities. Yosef's identity is hidden from his brothers, and the identity of Esther is hidden from Achashverosh, incidents of potential adulterous acts that are ultimately mutter. There's a whole slew of parallels. You can think about them. There are many. And one thing that is very striking also that's parallel is you don't find direct nisim in either story. You do not find the Shem Hashem in the Megillah. You don't find the Shem Hashem in the Yosef story either. They are all events that are somewhat improbable. Regular events, sales to slavery, from the Yishmaelim, from the Medanim to Mitzrayim, rise to power in the house of Potiphar, rise to power in jail, rise to the leadership of Mitzrayim. Improbable. Yaakov sends Yosef out, find the brothers. He finds himself wandering in a place called, in the middle of the desert. He sees this mysterious man. Rashi says it's an angel. Where they go, Dosaina, he heads to Dosan, he gets sold, etc. Improbable events, which only in retrospect Yosef understands is all the Yad Hashem, is all Hashem directing, orchestrating, the master puppeteer that is controlling everything. And of course that's what happens in the Purim story as well. Different things that happen in the beginning of the Megillah. What connection do they have? Vashti is dethroned. The event of Big Son Mevaseret that Mordechai overhears. Haman rises to power. Political events, invitations to parties, and all of this is Hashem is makdim refuah lamaka. The cure is already in place, even before the disease is there. And finally, Haman has his nefarious plot. He is defeated, and we know the end of the story. But once again, Hashem's name is not in the Megillah. It's Hashem, the puppeteer, behind the scenes, orchestrating, mastering, producing everything. And that's the story of the Megillah, and that's the story of Yosef, and perhaps that's the explanation of these two difficult chazals. You see, when we were at Har Sinai, Gemara Shabbos Peiches at Har Sinai, we heard the Yad Hashem, we heard the Dvar Hashem, we saw Kolos Uvrakim. It was crystal clear. No ambiguity. So perhaps that's the pshat, is the Jews had no Bechira Chavshis. It was duress, not a literal mountain held over the head, but everything was so obvious. Of course the answer was Nasa v'Nishma, as if there was no Bechira whatsoever. You see, the story of Megillas Esther celebrates Hashem behind the scenes. There was perhaps a lack of clarity, not a lot of coincidences that just seemed to perfectly work out. A denier could deny, hater's going to hate, but there was a certain, if you looked carefully, you saw what you needed to see. That's when the Jews had another Kabbalas HaTorah. This was not a Kabbalas HaTorah of Kofa Aleim Har Kegigis. This was a Kabbalas HaTorah Me'ahava, that they accepted the Torah when there was a real sense of Bechira, and that's the celebration of Kabbalas HaTorah at the Purim story. That's our Sudas Purim. Perhaps the same thing when it comes to Yemos HaMashiach. Yemos HaMashiach, we're going to see the Yad Hashem crystal clear. We're going to see Kibbutz Galios. We're going to see Eretz Yisrael flourishing. We're going to see perhaps Nisim V'Niflos as the Beis HaMikdash is restored and rebuilt. But then life is going to go on, and we're going to have the regular plants growing, and women having children, and people growing older, and life is going to continue. And there's still going to be nature. And what's going to clue us into Hashem also operating behind the scenes? We won't need the other dramatic Nevi'im. They will be outdated. But Megillas Esther, Hashem behind the scenes, Hashem orchestrating everything, even that which we call nature, that we're still going to need, and that perhaps is the ultimate message of the Megillah, is that sense of Hashem not just in the Nisim of Pesach, but Purim is a build-up to Pesach. We celebrate Hashem in nature, and then we'll see Hashem overtly through Eser Makos and Kriyas Yamsuf. May we all be Zoche to a wonderful Shabbos Parsha Zohar and a Purim Sameach.